Welcome to Live Impact News this Friday morning. I'm Julie Kay here with Carlene Bragg. We want to get to, of course, your headlines. A lot of breaking news over the past couple days, and we're going to start with South Carolina State. That breaking news out of Orangeburg, South Carolina. 2 people are dead and another injured following a shooting at that university. Within the last couple hours, we learned that lockdown on campus has since been lifted. The shooting happened last night at a student housing complex. Officials have not yet confirmed the identities of the victims. At this point, we have not heard the condition of that person who was hurt, but of course classes have been canceled for today. And this is of course a big deal. If you're not familiar with where this is, it's about 50 miles down the road from Columbia. This is the biggest HBCU in the state. We have a lot of alumni that stay in the Carolinas, particularly in the Charlotte area. So I know this hits close to home for a lot of people. Right now, no word on a suspect, but we do know that SLED is helping with that investigation. And if you were with us yesterday, you also know about that crash in Gastonia. Multiple students are recovering. Elementary school students after a bus crashed yesterday on the way home from school. We're told 48 kids were on this bus when it crashed near Jenkins Road. Gastonia police say the bus was taking students from 2 Bessemer City schools when it went off the road and into the woods. We're going to get to those visuals later too, because it really is such a scene. 14 students were taken to the hospital, thankfully suffering non-life-threatening injuries. We're going to hopefully have some more information on that later. We know one student unfortunately had a broken arm, but thankfully no more serious injuries. Third headline today that we're following is, of course, weather. Majestic storm is here. Now, Majestic, I know that Valentine's Day is looking pretty good.
Yes.
Sunday's looking a whole lot different.
We definitely have changes on Sunday, which is nice because a lot of people have plans this weekend, and thankfully we won't have to bring our umbrellas or anything like that. It's not going to be the most beautiful Valentine's Day, but at least it's dry and temperatures will be mild. It's beautiful, though, outside this morning. Did you notice the sunshine coming in?
I needed it.
Yes.
It's been quite the few months, it feels like, in Charlotte. So I've
seasonal depression's real. You
the
know,
what? Oh, for sure.
Gray skies make me sad.
I did my first live shot without a coat on Wednesday, and for the first, I know.
Yay!
It felt good.
More to
I
come.
actually was a little toasty. It was nice.
Are you serious?
On Wednesday, because
Good
that
for
sun
you.
was beaten down.
Yeah,
It was nice.
It was overall a pretty nice week. So heading into the weekend, we'll start out with sunny conditions, and then by the end of our weekend, we do have quite a bit of rain on the way. So let's get into it. It is a beautiful day out there. I love days like today where it's gorgeous, no matter if you're waking up in the mountains, the city, or there at the beach. We'll start right here, Beach Mountain. Maybe you're gearing up, packing up the family, and heading out to the mountains for Valentine's weekend. Honestly, area roadways this morning were pretty quiet. I was covering traffic this morning on WCNC, of course, and it was overall quiet. I don't suspect that we'll have any big problems out on those roads really until Sunday. Even as this camera turns around, not even a single cloud in the sky at beach. This is a place to be. So beautiful. Myrtle Beach camera, it was working just a second ago. I promise you.
Never mind.
It was so
we
pretty.
Can't compete with Beach Mountain.
I guess not. I guess not. This is one though. Lake Norman still looking nice. You can see beautiful blue sunny skies there. I've seen lots of people up and walking around, soaking up a nice, very mild Friday morning. And really today, tomorrow, might even see some fishermen out there soaking up some nice conditions. As we're heading into the weekend, few things to know. Sunny skies throughout our whole day today, and temperatures, they'll be right around our seasonal average. So we should be at 56 degrees. Not going to be exactly there, but then on Saturday is still another cloudy day, a dry day, and then rain showers will start to move in overnight Saturday and into Sunday. So if you have any plans this weekend, if you want to do things outside, I would say today or tomorrow. Sunday is going to be mostly our indoor kind of day where hopefully you don't have much to do and you can kind of just be lazy or start to get ready for the new work week, whatever it is. Current temperatures right now, we are pretty comfortable here in Charlotte, 42 degrees currently. Up in the mountains, of course, a little chilly, right around freezing. Temperatures throughout the rest of the day today will slowly start to rise. Of course they will. Upper 50, so a couple of degrees warmer than where we should be for this time of the year. However, it's going to be stunning. Lots of lots of sunshine this morning. Even as you're picking up those kids after school or maybe driving home from work later in the day, it's going to be a nice day overall. Let's take you up into the mountains. We'll focus on that forecast where it is also beautiful. 41 degrees there in Banner Elk. I was looking at our camera coming in from Blowing Rock earlier, 44 for your high, and there was tons of people out and about walking around, going to those cute shops in Blowing Rock, sipping on some hot coffee. It would be a good day to even grab some lunch there at one of their cute cute patios. 45 degrees there in Fleetwood. Once we're heading down to the south just a bit, upper 50s for our good friends out in Morganton, 58 in Lenoir, and then heading right around the Charlotte metro area, about 59 degrees is where we'll top off today. And then overnight lows as we're heading into tonight and into tomorrow morning, well, it's going to look like this. It's going to get cold again. Clear skies tonight will lead to a chilly start to our Saturday morning, 29 degrees heading out the door. So if you have any plans Saturday morning, it is going to be cold. I know there's plenty of you who have been loving the weather this week. You know, we've had some really nice days. You want to head out to the golf course on your Saturday morning, and honestly, wouldn't be a bad morning. Grab the layers. You'll have plenty of sunshine for the first couple of hours, but then Saturday, it does get very, very cloudy. You can see this is our planner, so we'll expect to see sunny skies to kick off our day tomorrow. Of course, Valentine's Day tomorrow with increasing cloud coverage throughout the afternoon and evening. So if you have any plans, maybe you're heading out for a dinner date, I think those clouds will actually be kind of helpful because it won't be so cold. Remember, clouds, they kind of act like a blanket. Overall high temperatures tomorrow, mainly into the 50s and 60s, and again, more clouds than sunshine, increasing cloud coverage throughout the rest of the day. And then Sunday is going to be our rainy day. We do not have a WCNC weather impact alert day or anything like that because we're not concerned about any storms. We're not concerned about anything other than it's just going to be rainy. A little inconvenient, but honestly, our drought is worsening so much that we really need this rain. So sorry if you had outdoor plans on Sunday. This is nearly a washout day where the rain's going to be steady from start to finish. Not saying it's going to be a heavy downpour throughout the entire day, but it's going to be cloudy, cooler, rainy, that sort of thing. Here's our satellite and radar. This is what we like to see across the Carolinas. A whole lot of sunshine today. It's just going to be beautiful. Let's walk you through our futurecast. So here's 5 o'clock tonight. If you have plans for your Friday evening, clear and nice. Just grab a jacket, of course, if you have plans later on this evening. Saturday morning, remember waking up below freezing. Still clear, though. And likely we'll get to enjoy a little sunshine for the first half of our Saturday before those clouds take over. You can see by 7 o'clock on Saturday, mainly cloudy, but still we're dry at this point. That rain starts to move in Saturday night and into Sunday. Here's Sunday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. So if you're an early riser, you might be drinking your hot cup of coffee, looking out the window and the rain's coming down. Just kind of a cozy day though. And then notice, fast forwarding you into that 11 o'clock time frame, we still have rain, and when we see pockets of that yellow, that's indicating that we could have moderate rain, so maybe a little heavier at times. And while we really need this rain, one thing that is a little concerning with it is that the ground is so incredibly dry, and when we have such dry conditions, the rain has a hard time, or the ground has a hard time absorbing the rain. So could we see a little bit of flooding at times? It sounds crazy because we need the rain so bad, but if we have heavy rain, that could be a bit problematic. Let's keep it going. So here's about 7 at night on Sunday. Still, the rain is ongoing. It's going to be an overall rainy day. By the time you're waking up on Monday, though, conditions are going to get better. Here's our drought monitor. We've been talking about this the last couple of days. You see that red there? That's indicating really an extreme drought in parts of Mecklenburg County. Orange right there, that's a severe drought. Really not a good sign to see something so severe. That means we desperately need rain, and it would take a lot more rain than what we're going to get on Sunday to help improve this, but of course we'll take what we can get. We continue to get drought monitors releases and updates on Thursdays, so we'll let you know how that rain on Sunday helps to improve that next Thursday. This is about how much rain we could see. A lot of models are indicating that we'll at least have an inch of rain. Some areas picking up an inch to an inch and a half, maybe some areas receiving up to 2 inches. So we need that. That's looking good for us. And as far as our 10-day forecast, with more rain on the way, nothing more widespread. Really, the most impactful rain will be on Sunday, small chances early on Monday, and then really those chances remain quite minimal. Look at these temperatures next week, though. So the big story this weekend, nice, rainy. And then next week, it is going to get warm again. Look at this, 75 degrees on Thursday, 76 on Friday. I know a lot of you.
Claps for
happy,
that.
happy.
We claps. We claps for
I'm
70s.
excited for that too. It's going to be so nice. A little taste of spring. And then just to wrap things up, here's our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Pretty mild today. Remember, just a nice mix of sun and clouds as we're heading later on into the day, but there's plenty of sunshine out there right now. 29 degrees, so it's going to be chilly waking up tomorrow morning. Still Saturday, 64 degrees for your high on Valentine's Day. That's nice.
Nice.
Yeah,
take
that's
it.
going to be nice. And earlier in the week, we were concerned that maybe the rain would actually move in on Saturday, but the forecast has been in our favor. We'll have the rain on Sunday instead. And then next week, just getting really warm, 70s starting on Wednesday, and it seems like we'll have multiple days in the 70s. So, yeah.
I will take it.
There's your Valentine's gift from me to you.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you. Look
You're
at Miss,
welcome.
and look at Miss Hearts.
Aw.
Look at her.
I dressed festive. I love holidays.
Yay.
I'm such a holiday girl. So,
I really enjoy on your Instagram story too. I get to vote for your outfit.
did you pick this one?
I didn't see it last
Oh,
night.
okay.
I missed it, but I would have.
Cute.
I've been doing that a long
Do you have
time.
any plans?
Oh yeah, we're going to Myrtle Beach.
You're going to Myrtle?
Yeah, just for the weekend, just
That's
to hang
so
out.
fun.
Yeah.
What about
I've never
you?
actually been.
Oh, it's a great time.
Yeah, I'm
It's
excited.
a great time. I've been to Myrtle plenty of times. So the South Carolina girl, it's just one of the
Yeah.
places you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to just be by water.
Oh yeah. Plenty of putt-putt. If you want
Yeah.
putt-putt, there's
Ooh.
you can just throw a rock and hit a mini like a putt-putt course.
Wow.
It's
Interesting.
just so many. It's a huge
There's a
thing
lot.
there. There's a lot
Okay.
of regular golf in
Yeah.
Myrtle. Then there's pancake houses. The whole
Yeah.
nine.
I'm excited. And it's really cheap to go to the beach this time of the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
oh,
like
of
so
course.
it's such an affordable, like fun little weekend getaway.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. What are you guys doing?
Well, it's a Daytona 500 weekend, so my significant other will be working all weekend. He works for NASCAR, so it's so it'll be me and the dog. Me and Turkey are just gonna
Aw.
be kicking it.
Oh, well at least you have
Okay.
him.
I have him. Yeah.
Is his real name really Turkey?
yeah.
You named your
I
wiener dog
named-
Turkey?
Yeah, I sure did. I sure
It
did.
fits him. It fits
Turkey?
him.
He was brown and born in November, so I said,
There you go.
"There you go."
That is
Turkey it
funny.
is.
Really didn't have another choice. I mean,
Then it was right was on the wall.
Yeah.
That's a fun name for a dog. What
I'm
about you?
also not doing anything crazy
Right.
tomorrow. My boyfriend lives in Milwaukee, who
Yeah.
you actually used to work with.
Yes.
And so he's had nothing but snow and cold, and he's coming the following weekend.
Okay.
So I'm very much looking forward to hopefully those temperatures are nice.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they push into the weekend so he can experience the sun, which he
Yes.
has not seen probably in about 3 months.
Oh, poor him.
He likes the
He
cold.
knew what he was getting himself
know.
into.
And they were in Arkansas before. What a shift.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have fun. Have
Thanks.
fun at Myrtle.
Thank
Tell
you,
me how
guys.
how it is, and
I will. It'll be good.
Yeah.
It'll be a
It'll
great
be
weekend for everyone. It's a weekend. We made it to Friday.
We made it here.
What more could you want?
Yeah.
All right, well, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes with some more of your headlines. Stick with us. Welcome back to Live Impact News. Julie Kay here. It is 9:17 on your Friday morning, and we want to take a live look here at the Capitol building. Lots going on here today because tonight is the deadline for Congress to make a decision about Department of Homeland Security funding. Now, this is not a looming government shutdown of all branches of government. It is very particular. It's just the DHS, and so I don't want people to freak out and think, oh, we're going to have the same situation as what we've seen before, but really this whole discussion hinges on ICE and funding for ICE, especially after what's been going on in Minneapolis. So here's NBC's Alice Barr with the latest.
The clock is ticking again to another partial government shutdown, with the Department of Homeland Security set to run out of funding at midnight tonight.
The motion is not agreed to.
Tensions flaring in the Senate when Democrats rejected a short-term extension, holding out for major changes to immigration enforcement operations.
We want to fund the Department of Homeland Security, but only a department that is obeying the law.
A TSA agent is going to go without a paycheck. Why? So that you can posture politically. I'm over it.
TSA, FEMA, and the Coast Guard will all lose funding under a DHS shutdown, though most employees will keep working critical jobs without pay. Air travel could be affected, with TSA agents once again under strain, and Congress out for a week-long break.
If a deal is struck, we will get everybody back here to vote on it.
ICE and Border Patrol are at the center of the dispute, but they still have access to a big pot of money from the big, beautiful bill. Democrats are demanding long-term changes, including requiring judicial warrants to enter private property for immigration operations and stopping agents from wearing masks, some of which President Trump called very hard to approve.
We have to protect our law enforcement, very important.
All as the president's border czar announced an end to the surge of federal immigration officers in Minneapolis, where the shooting deaths of 2 American citizens touched off uproar over DHS tactics.
This idea that we're going to continue to fund them at this level after what they've done to my state, that's not in the cards for me.
In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Hoping to get some updates on that today, but at this point it is looking like that partial shutdown is going to go into effect. We also want to get back to Minneapolis. If you were here yesterday, you watched us bring it to you live. Border Czar Tom Homan making a big announcement in Minneapolis saying that they are paring down their operation there. We want to bring at least part of that speech to you now so you have an update, especially as this discussion centers around ICE in Minneapolis.
I'm here with Sam Molson, Director of ICE and Enforcement Mover Operations for the St. Paul Field Office, Stephen Schrenk, Acting Special Agent in charge for ICE Homeland Security Investigations, and Chris Kuhn, Chief Patrol Agent for the United States Border Patrol. I'm very pleased to report that this surge operation and our work here with state and local officials to improve coordination and achieve mutual goals, as well as our efforts to address issues of concern here on the ground, have yielded the successful results we have came here for. The Twin Cities and Minnesota in general are and will continue to be much safer for the communities here because of what we have accomplished under President Trump's leadership. I previously shared with you before I got here. Before I even got here, I met with, I said I was going to meet with the governor, the AG, and the Mayor Fry, Mayor Herr, and I've done all of that. I've also met with various police chiefs and sheriffs, and one thing we all had in common was the importance of ensuring and maintaining public safety. Overall, we made a lot of progress through extensive engagement, meeting with them and other key stakeholders. And it is expected that those engagements and discussions will continue going forward in order to enhance exchange of information and more coordination. As a result of this surge operation, we have greatly reduced the number of targets for enforcement action. And many criminal aliens have been arrested and taken off the streets, including murderers, sex offenders, national security threats, gang members, and other violent criminals. Just this week, ICE arrested a criminal alien with criminal convictions for rape, acts with a child under 14 years of age with force, lewd and lascivious acts with a child under 14. ICE also arrested 2 criminal aliens with criminal sexual misconduct convictions, among other violent criminals. Through targeted enforcement operations based on reasonable suspicion and prioritizing safety and security, ICE will continue to identify, arrest, and remove illegal aliens that pose a risk to public safety, like we've done for years. And our officers will carry out their duties with professionalism, integrity, and compassion, like we've done for years. We will enforce the immigration law against all persons in the United States illegally. I want to say something about the various unfounded complaints I'm hearing about ICE enforcement operations. During the surge operation, ICE has not arrested anybody inside a hospital. We have not arrested anybody inside of a school, an elementary school. We have not arrested anybody inside a church. As a matter of fact, the only ones that disrespected the sanctuary of a church were the agitators that have been arrested and prosecuted, and so far we have 9 of them. However, those locations are not off the table. I said from day one, there's no sanctuary for a significant public safety threat or national security threat. But as far as those stories about ICE going into churches and arresting people in hospitals, it simply has not happened. And if you have a case where it happened, you let me know. Because all the digging I've done here, I can't find a single one. Under President Trump's direction, we have obtained an unprecedented level of coordination with law enforcement officials that is focused on promoting public safety across the entire state. While I don't agree with Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellis on everything, I appreciate the support the governor gives to state agencies who coordinate with us in a manner intended to promote public safety. And I appreciate the AG having an open dialogue with me. Early on, the first meeting I had, acknowledging that county jails may notify ICE of the release date of an inmate, just as long as they don't hold them past the time they would normally release them. We now have the ability to arrest criminal aliens in the safety and security of jails throughout the state at the time they're being released, like we've done in other states. I've also directed the strategic placement of officers in certain areas throughout the states that can respond quickly to sheriffs that want to release somebody and notify us. We need to be nearby so they don't hold them unnecessarily. So we worked on a strategic plan to reassign officers in those key locations. Arresting a public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail is safer for the alien, it's safer for the officer, and safer for the community. I think we all can agree on that. It requires less resources for at-large operations. It just makes sense. I'll say it again, as I've said many times, we are not asking local law enforcement to act as immigration officers. I don't want them to be immigration officers. We're the immigration officers. We just want them to be cops. We're asking law enforcement to coordinate with other law enforcement to help keep public safety risks out of the communities. We have also strengthened our existing coordination with the state to target and take custody of criminal aliens more efficiently and effectively. As a result of our efforts here, Minnesota is now less of a sanctuary state for criminals. And we are proud of the public safety threats we have removed from the criminal aliens out of the state. As I said in my first press conference a couple weeks ago, President Trump didn't send me here because the operations were being run and conducted perfectly. I came here to identify issues and implement solutions to improve our mission execution. Since that time, in order to improve target enforcement operation, I and my team here, we made personnel changes. We integrated BP with the ICE teams. We established a single unified chain of command structure. We strengthened joint intelligence and targeting capabilities. We deployed body cameras. We increased the footprint of internal affairs. We commuted zero tolerance for misconduct. President Trump also deployed me here to work with state and local officials to de-escalate the intense, volatile reactions and conflicts that have unfolded on the streets here between federal law enforcement and unlawful agitators. While working to course correct and improve how enforcement operations are being run and executed here, and even before I was sent up here, I've been saying over and over that forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, or interfering with a federal law enforcement officer is a crime in violation of USC 111. It's not okay and will not be tolerated. Zero tolerance if you cross that line and put hands on an ICE officer. Not only is such activity unlawful, it is dangerous, and sadly we have seen tragic consequences, as well as adverse impacts on businesses and the communities here in the city. While the Trump administration supports everyone's First Amendment right to freedom of speech and assembly and to petition, it has to be done lawfully and peacefully. Because we will not tolerate unlawful actions committed by agitators who are just causing havoc. This is not the way to express your disagreement or try to reform federal laws. Go talk to your members of Congress if you want the laws changed in this country. Nor is doxing federal law enforcement personnel and their families, it's just not right. Enough is enough with this misguided, reckless, and shameful behavior. We don't want to see any more bloodshed. I don't want to see any more bloodshed. I pray every night for the safety of our law enforcement personnel and the safety of those in the community, whether you're here legally or illegally. I don't want to see anybody harmed. If you break the law, we're going to arrest you. We have already arrested more than 200 people for violations of USC 111. The U.S. Attorney's Office has already accepted many for prosecutions, and some are still pending. I have also received commitments from state and local law enforcement that they will respond if federal law enforcement is being impeded or assaulted. They will shut down unlawful agitator activity, including arresting agitators involved and seeing them follow through. And we're seeing them follow through on those commitments. We've seen this past weekend that the state and local law enforcement have taken actions when it comes to public safety. And bless them for doing that. Since I have been here, I've repeatedly emphasized that the unlawful and violent agitator activity is unacceptable and must wind down as a condition for further drawdown of law enforcement personnel. I cannot remove law enforcement personnel while violence poses serious risk to our officers. I will not leave my officers in that position. It is worth noting that in all my meetings and discussions since I got here, I've not heard one federal, state, local law enforcement, or judicial official, nor any member of the business or faith communities that I met with, say that ICE is an illegitimate agency that doesn't have a real mission. Quite the opposite. All I've heard is the acknowledgement that federal immigration laws passed by Congress do exist, and ICE has a legitimate responsibility to enforce those laws. ICE is a legitimate federal law enforcement agency. We're not out scouring the streets to disappear people or deny people their civil rights or due process. In addition to taking public safety threats off the street, ICE here in this state have located 3,364 missing unaccompanied alien children. Children that the last administration lost and weren't even looking for. That's because the leadership of President Trump, these children were located. As part of the de-escalation efforts, I have called on state and local officials these past few weeks to tone down the rhetoric and denounce unlawful activities being conducted by the agitators. We don't have to agree on everything, and we definitely do not. But we all agree that the lawlessness and chaos and disruption that is occurring on the street needs to end. I want to thank Governor Walz for his messages focusing on peace and his support for the Minnesota State Troopers to respond to unlawful situations that put federal officers and the public at risk. I also want to thank Mayor Frey for taking a public stance against agitators setting up barricades that block streets and endanger public safety, and for directing the police to take those roadblocks down. Additionally, I want to thank Police Chief O'Hara, Sheriff Witt, and various other local law enforcement for their responsiveness and efforts to maintain law and order in the streets. We've seen a big change here in the last couple of weeks, and it's all good changes. I'm also pleased to report that we're seeing a notable decrease on unlawful agitator activity here in Minneapolis and overall throughout the state. This is great news for Minnesota communities that have been adversely impacted by the lawlessness and chaos on the street. We have what we call here QRFs, Quick Response Force, security teams, that get called out when ICE officers are out doing operations. They get into trouble, if agitators get out of control, if there's a danger and public safety is at risk, these QRFs respond to help these officers get off the X and get out of that situation. I asked today when I got here, I want to know what the QRFs call outs are, what their deployments are. I want to know every time a QRF is called out. The QRF deployments have dropped dramatically because we have less of that occurring, less of the agitator that cross that line. That is a good thing. That is a win for everybody, not just for the safety of law enforcement officers. It's a win for this community. With that, and success that has been made arresting public safety threats and other priorities since this surge operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement, I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue to the next week. We have a lot of work to do across this country to remove public safety risk who shouldn't even be in this country, and to deliver on President Trump's promise for strong border security and mass deportation. Law enforcement officers drawn down from this surge operation will either return to their duty stations or be assigned elsewhere to achieve just that. We will continue to enforce Title VIII immigration law throughout this nation. Prioritizing national security threats and public safety risks makes sense. But I will continue to say over and over again, if you are here in the country legally, you're not exempt from our immigration laws. If we encounter you, we'll take appropriate enforcement action. For those that say we are backing down from immigration enforcement or the promise of mass deportations, you are simply wrong. Look at the data. Record number of arrests and deportations under President Trump's first year. And we'll continue that effort. Prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats doesn't mean we forget about everybody else. We will take action on everybody else. That's just a stone cold fact. A small footprint of personnel will remain for a period of time to close out and transition full command and control back to the field office, as well as to ensure agitator activity continues to decline, and that state and local law enforcement continue to respond to ensure officer and community safety. Additionally, federal government personnel assigned to conduct criminal investigation into the agitators, as well as the personnel assigned here for the fraud investigations, will remain in place until the work is done. I will also remain on the ground for a little longer to oversee the drawdown of this operation and ensure its success. In closing, I want to thank the leadership and senior management that I've worked with for your efforts into these issues, determine deficiencies and challenges, present solutions, and implement improvements that will benefit how operations are run and executed nationwide. God bless the men and women of ICE, men and women of the Border Patrol. Appreciate everything you've done for us. Also, with sincere gratitude, President Trump and I want to thank the men and women of ICE and CBP and partner agencies who have been assigned here during Operation Metro Surge. You achieved a great success for the Minnesota communities. Thank you to your families as well, because I know they sacrifice also. Thank you, President Trump, for your vision, as well as your support and confidence in these brave, dedicated patriots that work hard to deliver on your strong commitment to law and order, public safety, prosperity for American communities. Today, we have the most secure border in American history. We are seeing record numbers of people being arrested and deported. Your promise to make America safe again is being played out every day on the streets of this country. I've said it many times. I worked for 6 different presidents, 10 different administrations. No one has done it better than President Trump. God bless this great country. I'll take questions now.
We'll take a couple questions, no follow-ups. I'll start off with Frankie.
Yeah. Mr. Homan, as immigration enforcement continues across the country here in Minnesota as well, how do you hope to gain the trust of individuals here that have kind of been wary of seeing federal officers on the street, but let's say 6 months from now, we still have the office here, we still are enforcing immigration across the country. What do you hope things to look like, and what are you asking for the public?
Look, I just want people to look at the data on what this administration has done. You know, the number of public safety threats we removed from the streets across this country, that makes these communities safer. ICE has had an office here for decades. Before it was called INS, Immigration Naturalization Service. This footprint will remain here, and they'll continue to do immigration enforcement here. But as President Trump has said from day one, we're going to prioritize the public safety threats. Again, but prioritization doesn't mean forget about everybody else. That means if you have a criminal alien here and non-criminal here, the criminal always comes first because he's the biggest threat to the communities. We're going to continue to force immigration law, but we won't get back to the footprint here, the normal footprint here. But there will be some security teams staying here, the QRFs, until we're assured that those agitators incidents either stay low or further decline. I'm not going to remove everybody out of the safety of our officers, but like I said, and Operation Metro Surge is ending. And in the next week, we're going to deploy the officers here on detail back to their home stations or other areas of the country that are needed. But we're going to continue to enforce immigration law. That's what the American people voted for. But it has to be a priority of criminals. And look, I hear all the hate about, you know, you should arrest everybody. Well, we are. But we're prioritizing those who are the biggest threat to our community. The rapists, the murderers, the child molesters. That's the right thing to do. But I'll say it again. President Trump made a promise of mass deportation, and that's what this country's going to get. But it's smart law enforcement to do target enforcement operations. Now, I've heard people attack me using the word targeted. I sat for the last 2 months when I watched this operation, daily press briefings are talking about targeted Title VIII operations. Nothing changed, other than we're going to make sure they're targeted and make sure we know who we're going for, what their immigration record, what's their criminal history. That comes first. But enforcement of Title VIII is not going to end. If you're in this country legally, you're not off the table. And I think we're proving that if you look at the data.
Eric? Mr. Homan, just had a question about the final number of arrests you had and how many of those people arrested were those targeted security threats you were after?
I don't have that exact breakdown. I know we've made over 4,000 arrests here. That is something local field officers can supply. I don't have the exact breakdown. But I can tell you, since I've been on the ground, they've been target enforcement arrests. I believe there were target enforcement arrests before I got here. What I did is create one chain of commands where everybody knows what everybody else is doing, and integrate operation command centers. There were some issues here, and we addressed those issues. But I'm not going to sit here and say anybody did anything wrong, and that they were unprofessional. I'm going to say there's some issues here. We fixed those issues. We've had great success with this operation, and we're leaving Minnesota safer. The surge is leaving Minnesota safer, Minneapolis safer, because of the cooperation we got with the counties and the state and local law enforcement responding to our needs. I'll say it again, it's less of a sanctuary state for criminals.
Yeah, sorry to go a little off topic here, but can you confirm that CPB actually hit a party balloon instead of a drone with a laser during the incident in El Paso? And why wasn't that action coordinated with the FAA?
I have no information on that. It's out of my league.
So we're going to keep the questions to Minnesota, the topic. Go ahead.
Mr. Homan, can you specify how many county sheriffs, local jails have agreed to work with you and honor ICE detainers?
I have not met one county jail that says no to us. They want to work with us.
Okay, we have time for one more. Go ahead.
Yes, hi, Mr. Homan. You talked about this unprecedented level of cooperation between local officials and yourself. Can you explain more what is changed now in terms of that cooperation from before?
Several things have changed. First of all, when the agents were out doing operations and the agitators got a hand and proposed a public safety threat, not just to the officers but the communities, Law enforcement response has been sporadic at best. I think at what you see now, what you saw this past weekend, is law enforcement is responding to public safety needs quickly. And people were arrested for violating city ordinances as far as when it, unlawful assembly and so forth. They come to assist us to make sure our officers, the person we have in custody, leave that scene safely. You've seen it this weekend, and I'm happy that the local and state was there also, that responded, and we haven't seen any incidents of them not responding since we have these agreements in place now. As far as the jails, we got more cooperation, more jails than they had before we got here. And that's a good thing. We're having conversation with the state, and state already accepted our detainees, but we're moving further on our agreements with the state. So the cooperation we have here is going to keep this city safer. It's going to keep our agents safer. Arresting public safety threats in a jail just makes sense. If we look at, I was talking to my chief of staff this morning on the way over here. I see that most people on the other side, and I say the other side, they say that, this argument with Democrats versus Republicans, whatever. But most of the people, even the Democrats, are saying they want public safety threats to be the focus. They think public safety threats, illegal aliens, should be addressed. But to say that and not let us into jail, you can't square that. I just noticed the governor of New York, my home state. I've heard her say that she believes public safety threat, illegal aliens should be the focus of ICE. But to have a press conference last week to lock us out of the jails and end 287G agreements, how do you square that? You can't. So again, prioritization of public safety threats don't mean we forget about everybody else. We're going to enforce the immigration law. We're going to have a mass deportation. President Trump promised that, and we're committed to that. However, it shouldn't be a partisan issue that you arrest public safety threats in the safety and security of a jail. Releasing public safety threats back in the public is just stupid. And I've been arguing this for years. And I hope Congress takes action on sanctuary cities and sanctuary. It makes sense. If you think about it, even the argument I hear, well, victims and witnesses of crime that are in the country illegally want to feel safe to come to law enforcement and to report those crimes without fearing that this law enforcement agency is working with ICE. That's a bunch of crap. Because victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy released to the neighborhood either. It's ridiculous. We want access to the person that you chose, the local jurisdiction chose, to lock in a jail cell. And we have that cooperation here now. It's the right thing to do, and it makes this community safer. This community is safer because we arrested 4,000 illegal aliens in this, over 4,000 illegal aliens here. Many of them public safety threat, not all of them. As I said, we're going to force immigration law, but this community is much safer because of President Trump's leadership and the men and women standing on this stage.
Thank you. That's all the questions we're going to take right now.
All right, if you missed it yesterday, that was Border Czar Tom Homan speaking about paring down operations there in Minneapolis. We're going to take a quick break, but know that immigration, especially with that looming DHS shutdown, is a big topic today, so we will come back to it. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. right, welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about the immigration crackdown in Minneapolis coming to an end. Of course, there will still be ICE operations similar to what we see across many other cities, but that focus on Minneapolis is stopping. We got a chance earlier to speak with a reporter at CARE, our news partners in Minneapolis, about that announcement and what really they've seen there over the last couple weeks.
We're coming up on 3:30 here on a Thursday afternoon. I'm Jane Monreal. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So this morning, big news out of Minnesota, where Borders Are Tom Homan announced that the immigration enforcement crackdown is ending. Political reporter Danny Spiewak, Danny, at our news partner CARE 11 in Minneapolis, joining us now. Danny, thanks for making the time this afternoon. So busy, I'm sure. With the coverage. What's the immediate reaction once the decision and this announcement was made?
Well, we were with the governor this morning, Governor Walz, at his press conference, and he used the term, cautiously optimistic, said he was skeptically optimistic, something along those lines. Many of the Democratic leaders in Minnesota don't quite trust the Trump administration's intentions, although the governor said he believes there's no, that there's no reason to think that there won't be a drawdown, that the federal agents won't leave Minnesota. But there's really a breakdown in trust between the federal government and the state government and the local governments as well. And so while it's welcome news for many people in Minnesota to hear that this Operation Metro Surge is supposedly ending, there is kind of that lingering question as to whether it really is ending and what it's going to look like in the next couple of weeks. Because just yesterday there was a crash involving a federal agent in a busy neighborhood pretty close to the state capitol. And so there is still some concerns about what the next couple days, weeks will look like.
Yeah, so sort of a wait and see, and if this is a true end to any kind of crackdown. So after following, these protests now for the last few weeks, what are you hearing from families before this morning's announcement and other community groups?
I think there's a lot of relief because, whether or not people believe that the drawdown will fully occur, I think there's a sense of relief, and there has been less activity in the last couple of weeks. I think the arrival of Borders Are Tom Homan did seem to make the situation a little bit better in terms of that he was having direct dialogue with the local and state leaders. And I think even the leaders in Minnesota, despite being opposed to the Trump administration, I think they would acknowledge that the tone really changed for everybody once Tom Homan arrived here, regardless of what somebody thinks about his policies or the Trump administration's policies. And so I think a lot of people in the community are hoping that there is going to be a light at the end of the tunnel here, and things have seemed to calm down a little bit in the last couple of weeks.
And how about trust? It's going to take a while to gain trust and to build that trust. What does that look like?
Definitely, and it's going to be a huge topic of discussion moving forward, just about how to deal with future immigration enforcement in the state. Our state legislative session at the Capitol starts on Tuesday, and so there are going to be bills from Democrats and Republicans that are kind of dealing with the fallout of all of this. And so I think it's going to really just kind of take center stage for a long time here, and then all the way into the 2026 elections, where we have every state legislator, governor, every executive office on the ballot, and then you also have, of course, midterms with Congress and everything. And so it's a long way until then, but I do think you're right with the trust. When it comes to the federal government, they do have to earn back some trust in Minnesota, and the poll numbers show that most Minnesotans oppose what the federal government did here. And so I think the Trump administration is recognizing that and is trying to take some corrective action.
Yeah, for everyday Minnesotans who may not even have been directly targeted or involved in any protests, what's the perception then about any safety or the perception from federal government?
It's interesting because just anecdotally, in the Twin Cities, you can really tell, in many neighborhoods, people aren't going to restaurants. The grocery stores are a lot emptier. Now, it didn't help when it was like negative 20 degrees. But even now the weather's warmer. There's apprehension. You can't deny it. There's apprehension from people to go out, workers that are staying home. So a lot of places are understaffed. It reminds a lot of people of COVID. So the governor actually proposed some emergency funding for small businesses. It has taken a huge hit to daily daily life here, and I think people are starting to emerge from it a little bit. But the polling, actually, KARE 11 and NBC just did a poll about public opinion, and it was pretty emphatic. It was pretty emphatic that about 2/3 of Minnesotans felt that ICE had gone too far in the state. And so obviously you have a base of people who believe federal immigration enforcement should be followed, and the Trump administration did everything that they could, and certainly you're going to have that base of voters that believes that. But by and large, independents are largely feeling like this went too far, and that's been the big change, I think.
And from your vantage point, Danny, in Minnesota, cities like ours and Charlotte, where we had that brief spell with Border Patrol agents coming into the Queen City here, watching from afar, what should we learn from what happened there?
You know, the governor has said that he believes this is a playbook for other states. Now, of course, I think the Trump administration would disagree with that. But I do think that it's going to be really interesting to watch. You know, we have our legislative session here in Minnesota, but I think whether it's in North Carolina, whether it's in any state, that I think you're going to see a lot of state proposals related to limiting ICE activity. You're probably going to see a lot at the congressional level, even though Republicans control Congress, obviously. I think this is just going to be a topic of conversation about, like, how does a city handle this if there is a surge somewhere, and what does that cooperation look like? Because actually, according to our poll, we also found that most Minnesotans support local police working with federal immigration authorities. So there is that support maybe for some in the public that believe there should be more cooperation, which is what you often hear from Republicans in the Trump administration. So that could be a topic moving forward as well.
All right, good point. Danny Spiewak, at our content partner in Minneapolis at KARE 11, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that is really where the big national story is today. Of course, immigration crackdown ending, but still the residual impacts. Of course, you may remember former CNN journalist Don Lemon was actually arrested and then let go. His arraignment is anticipated any minute now, so hopefully we will get that to you soon. We're waiting for updates. Of course, sometimes with those court arraignments, things can be a little bit behind, or the time that they give you is the block of time it may happen in, so we don't know exactly yet when it's going to happen, but hopefully we'll get those updates for you soon. Gonna get to some Olympics coverage in a couple minutes, so stick with us. We'll be back in 2. Welcome back to Live Impact News. Julie Kay here is just a couple minutes shy of 10. We don't want to lose sight of the Olympics, though. 10 a.m. is when the first heat of women's skeleton is. Now, Carlene, I will say, I realize when we do the Winter Olympics, not just how dangerous these things are, but how little I know
Oh, I know.
about these sports.
Oh, I know. We got this interview, which is great. I had to look up what skeleton was. I sure did. It's luge, but they're head first.
Oh, but more dangerous.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Let's add some more danger.
Let's
to
make
the
it
sport.
worse. So, God
brave
bless.
souls. Brave souls. Couldn't be me.
Lord have
Brave
mercy
souls.
on Mystique Rowe, who we got a chance to speak to. Now, this is really cool, not just because we got a chance to speak to an Olympic athlete. I unfortunately left my flag in the newsroom. I'm going to get it. But she went to Queens. And so that's really exciting, too, to have this local connection. So here's this interview, and know that her heat is going to start any minute now. You can stream that on Peacock.
So first, when you were out here in Queens, here in Charlotte, running track and field, did you ever imagine that one day you'd be going to the Olympics?
I don't know, it's probably one of those like what is it? Delusional? Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna figure out. I don't know what it is. And I think the universe took that very literal and like, all right, we're gonna put you in winter sport. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I originally thought it was gonna be track and field. And then when you see these girls in track and field, like Sha'Carri, Masai, all that, I'm like, oof, I don't know about this. These girls are fast. Maybe I'll pick a different event. So, you're just looking for different things and maybe, you're always hopeful. And then skeleton kind of fell on my lap and I was like, maybe. And then boom, here we are. So it's been an interesting journey. Like I had no idea this was going to be where we were brought. I had no idea.
So you say it fell into your lap, but how exactly kind of did you learn about it and decide, what, this is what I'm going to do?
So, funny enough, I had just finished, my teammates and I were just finished with NCAA's, what is it? The spring semester of 2016. And Queens had just did their credits, so I had to take another semester to finish everything out. And I was like, dang, that's another semester of funding I don't got, but we'll figure it out. So I finished my eligibility with track, so I couldn't compete for the team anymore. So I was like, well, maybe I'm just gonna be unattached. I'll keep training, and I have my training up here, it'll be fine. And so I was actually staying with my teammate, bumming on her couch because I didn't have housing at the time. And actually, Alana Myers-Taylor reached out. Well, so she sent an email blast to the different coaches around the country asking for recruits for bobsled brakemen. And my coach was a recipient of one of those emails and actually went to my teammate, Nakia Squire, and was like, hey, would you like to try out? And she's NCAA champion. She'd long jump 100 meters. So that was like a perfect pick. And so she was like, yeah, of course. And I just happened to be on the couch at the time. And would you want to come with me? Like, sure, I guess. Why not? I'm not doing anything else. So I got off the couch and went with her to South Carolina to a combine. And I did well enough to get invited to Lake Placid. The trick was I wanted to do bobsled because they told me about skeleton and they were trying to sell it to me. I'm like, no, not a chance. That's stupid. Like I other words, I'm like, no, thank you, I'm good. And they're like, well, you're kind of small. So we really, really think you should do skeleton. And I didn't really have much of a choice. So I got there in Lake Placid. I pushed a bobsled on the rails track just to get some reps in, but they kind of pushed me to skeleton. And I ended up doing top 3 in the skeleton one. So that got me the invitation to come back later the year in November of 2016 to do a driving school. So I was not even the intended recipient of that email or intentions of recommendation. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. And yeah.
Yeah, it really did fall into your lap. Were you nervous about doing it? Like, what were your kind of thoughts other than this is stupid?
I mean, it looks insane. Why would you want to throw yourself down a mountain head first? Like, where's your protection? There's no brakes. Like, how do you steer? Like, because you don't really know. Like, same as anyone watching skeleton at the Olympics, you just they're just laying there. How do you steer the sled? Well, you're going so fast. What's protecting you? And so you're very ignorant of what's involved. And so when I actually went down the track in November 2016, we went from the halfway point, so about 35, 40 miles an hour. And I went down and everything's just going so fast. I can't see anything. It's blurry. And I was like, I'm good. I don't need to do this ever again. Pass. And then like I took the truck ride back up and I was like, well, I didn't die and it wasn't as bad as I thought. So maybe I'll give it another shot. And so I did. And after run, it starts to get a little more comfortable. You start to understand where you are in the curve. You have a little bit more recall, as we like to call it. And you have a bit more awareness about what your body's doing to the sled and how it's changing in the curve. And so it becomes more of a game. Like how far can I get before I hit something on my body? How far can I get before I forget where I'm going or forget where I'm at, or I can't recognize where I'm at. And over time, and it becomes more fun when you're doing it with a group of people because we're all playing the same game. And so, well, I'm not gonna let you outdo me. So it becomes more fun as a group dynamic, and it's a good training group. So yeah, my initial run, I was like, I'm done. This is stupid. No thanks. And then I was like, okay, well, it wasn't terrible. Let's try again. And then it wasn't until March 2017, I did national championships. I actually was told you're not competing because you don't have enough runs, because I missed the first 2 months of the year, January, February, because I couldn't afford to come up. And then they were like, actually, you're going to compete. And I was like, oh. And I just barely gone from the top. Like I maybe did a couple walks. Like they let me walk the sled. But they come race day, they're like, you can run now. And I was like, what do you mean run? Like, turn your feet over. And I was like, okay. So I actually ran. It was awkward for me, but I ran and I hit everything in sight. It was extremely painful. And I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. And then the coaches come in, like when I get back to the top, I'm like, I suck. I'm horrible. The coaches come over to me and they're just really excited. Like, Basik, that was awesome. I was like, we didn't see the same run. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, no, like you're pushed. It was the second fastest. And I was like, that means nothing to me. So I looked at the timesheet and I was like, oh, that's what you mean. Because the top girl, I think she did like she's maybe a couple hundreds faster than me, and the rest of the field was a tenth or so behind me, and that was my first actual push. So that kind of told me that I could do something that the rest of the field couldn't do or was struggling with, and that was kind of like the green light. I was like, okay, like if we can figure out the sliding and stop hitting everything, maybe we can do well here. I don't know, but we'll see. So I kind of like allow myself to learn more about the sport before, because I think a lot of times people will come in and like, I'm gonna be an Olympian in skeleton. I'm like, you need to know what skeleton is first. You need to know if you like it. So I allow myself to like it first before I committed to the whole like, I'm gonna be an Olympian in skeleton, because you hit the wall at 60 miles an hour, it sucks. It hurts, and you just gotta kind of go through it and just, yeah, you gotta. There's no words. It hurts. It sucks. It just sucks. You just have to deal with it. But no, it's definitely been a growing pains for sure, and just trying to figure out how to do the sport, because it's not easy at all.
Yeah, you seem very competitive, but also like you are your own worst critic. Like everyone's telling you you're doing good, but you're like, no.
Yeah, it's just because you're thinking about like everything that went wrong, but then you didn't realize like, oh, you actually had pretty good speed here. And I'm like, well, it didn't feel like it. But then they're like, actually, no, it did feel like, because it hurt more than last time. So I think it's just giving yourself that grace, because it's a huge learning curve. It's something that no one, very, very, very small part of the population is doing this sport. So there's not much feedback is given, So you have to kind of grow with the sport, grow with the teammates and the athlete feedback you're getting, because it's hard, it's very niche.
For sure. Do you think your record-setting career at Queens helped you with skeleton?
It definitely helped with the push. Hurdling and jumping, I would attribute is my best transferable skills, just because of the nature of the type of training and the strength in the hips and the core stability. Being a heptathlete is, and it's always fun because I try to explain to people, the correlation between being a heptathlete and a skeleton athlete is very interesting, because there's so much happening so quickly. We're covering a mile of ice in less than a minute, and you're going 70+ miles an hour. You can't worry about every single curve in that moment, because the moment you think about it, you're already 2 curves away. It's going so fast. And in the heptathlon, you can do your high jump event, you could suck. Now you got to go throw javelin. Now you got to do the 200, whatever it is. You can't really hold on to those things. So you have to be able to compartmentalize everything. So that really taught me how to be more present for skeleton, because you can't, oh, I wish I did this better. Oh, well, you just steered into the wall. You have to be very, very present when you're sliding. Otherwise, you don't do very well. And it's very difficult to learn when you're holding on to the past.
Yeah. Okay. So aside from competing, what are you most looking forward to doing or experiencing at the Olympics?
I think I heard a lot of feedback about China's Olympic, Beijing, just because of the COVID. So seeing the dynamic of how the Olympics is supposed to be, I guess, and really just embracing it, because this was 20 years in the making. I've been dreaming about this for so long, and like it's easy to have this expectation. Like obviously we want to fight for medals, yes, but like taking a moment, the grace that we always talk about, we tell kids like, be proud of yourself, and then we turn around, we beat ourselves up because we didn't have a perfect game or whatever as an adult. But like, you did it, you achieved your lifelong dream, and you get to do it on the big stage, and now people get to know who you are and get to experience your sport and see why you're so passionate about it. And while I only have half the time of my track career in skeleton, like I have been very passionate, and be able to share that with the world and show like you don't have to grow up doing skeleton to be good here. You can do whatever you want and just show up and it'll fall in your lap, and then you embrace it. And I think it's just recognizing that everyone's path here is very different, and it's a cool story and it can inspire someone else.
So you are the second of 11 kids, correct?
Yes, I have an older
Second
half
oldest.
brother, and then and then I have a twin sister. She's 14 minutes younger than me.
How do you think all of that shaped who you are?
I'm very motherly, nurturing, naturally as the eldest daughter and the second oldest of the whole troop. But the main thing is just when I came to the sport, I saw there was a few issues with accessibility, and for me, money was a big problem because you go to a private school and like you're working several jobs trying to pay your tuition, pay for your textbooks, and other kids are, my dad paid cash. I was like, oh, we have different walks of life, And so for me, it was a lot of move to go from broke to broke, but brush bikes are $350, helmets are $700, the ticket to come over here is $1,000. There's so many different price points that price of entry is so high, it's a big barrier. And for us to be the best in the world, we can't turn away these athletes that want to be interested in the sport but can't afford to be here. So that really turned a light bulb in my mind, like how do we make this more accessible? So I created actually a nonprofit a couple of years ago, and I've been trying to manage balance. It's difficult being an active athlete, so I'm trying to find some more help. But Project Push to Gold Fund was created to help bring athletes more accessibility to equipment. So brush bikes, helmets, sleds, runners, different pieces of equipment that would be difficult to find on their own. Because when people first hear about skeleton, they're like, okay, it's cool. What do I sign up? Like, well, there's a camp in Utah, but I live in Oklahoma. I'm like, well, I don't know how you're gonna get there, but sorry, So just trying to figure out how to make things more accessible for people to do trial, people to experience it, or just fall in love with the sport the way that we did, without the pressure of like I have to drop $5,000 just to see if I like it. That's a huge ask, So mainly just my whole goal with this was I want to build a better team. I want to build a deep roster. I want to build a team that athletes want to be here, want to support each other, and the only way we can do that is if we have the resources to help sustain these athletes to be here. And we can all talk about what are they getting paid? I'm like, we're not getting paid anything, but you at least have spikes, you at least have a helmet, a speed suit that you can wear. And that's been the big challenge, is just making sure that we can keep the athletes that want to come out and try out, because 2034 is Salt Lake Olympics, and if we don't have a deep roster, we're gonna have very slim pickings. So we really need a plan for the future for us to be able to have sustainable games.
What does being an Olympic athlete mean to your family?
It's funny because my siblings, I got labeled Unc status, and if you know what that is, and because like I'm older and they're like just freshly turned 19, 20, and they're like, dang, you're old. And I'm like, you're gonna be here in like 20 years too. Like, you're not that far away, but they just don't have the correlation. And obviously, like when they were younger, I was in college, so I didn't see them as much. So I was the lame older sister, like I made sure they ate. They always, whenever there's food, they ran to the table, got food for them, whatever. But now I'm like a big deal. Like, oh, they do interviews? I'm like, yes, I've done interviews. Oh, you're on TV? Yes, I'm on TV. Oh, you're the Olympic. Oh my God. Yo, my sister's Olympian. And it's just like, better late than never, I guess. I'm cool now, but thank you. So it's been funny this, because it's just so out of touch, because like, again, skeleton's such a niche sport, you don't really hear about it, and they're just like, where's your sister? And like, I think she's in Germany, I don't know, she might be in Norway, who knows. And then I come back and like podiums, like, oh, you're kind of decent. I'm like, a little bit, yeah, I'm a little decent, no, something, but so it's just, you finally get a little bit of, because that's all, little brother's gonna always pick on the older sister, that's just the nature of it. So I'm starting to get a little bit of street cred. That's kind of fun.
How do you think your time at Queens and just in Charlotte in general impacted your life? And then, obviously you talked about how you were in the skeleton and the Olympics in general just because of it.
Yeah, the funny thing was like Queens was like my safety, actually, because I haven't told this story, so this will be like a first time, I think. But basically, I graduated from Brinsville District High School, and I was supposed to go to VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. Dropped the ball on that one. So then I went to Korea for like a couple months, and my dad sent me there to kind of hang out with my family. And I was like, I have to figure out something with my life. I have to do something. So the entire fall semester, I was like scheming how to get back to the US. So I actually feigned illness, because earlier in the summer, I actually had kidney stones and something. So I legitimately had history. So I'm like, maybe this will be believable. So I feigned illness, and my uncle didn't know how to handle it. So he's like, you have to go home. Like, yes, I need to go home. But in that time period, I was applying to colleges, and Queens actually was the one that accepted me. And so I was like, cool. So they have open house or whatever, admissions to get to do the tour. So I coordinated that. So I got home. My dad yelled at me for costing him so much. And I'm like, yeah. So I was actually working at Target, and then I coordinated a time to drive down to Charlotte by myself to go to the tour and check everything out. And then I was like, sold. They were still very young college, they were changing some programs around. I was like, I need to get out of my house. So I coordinated to go over there, and I did that. And then my coach threw me a bone for some scholarship money and like kind of helped me with financial aid to get around that. But that was like a huge thing of my just being independent. And that allowed me to be able to have the safety net of, obviously I'm going to school, but I can still fall on my face and learn. But I have to deal with it now. Like I never really relied on my parents to bail me out ever anyway. But like I'm an adult. I need to, if I want to make this happen, if I want to get a degree, if I want to go to college and compete, I need to have the good enough grades. So I have to do it myself. So I went from being the eldest daughter, doing all this stuff, to now like I got to be Miss Independent and try to figure this out. And we're gonna work 1,700 jobs trying to figure it out, but we're gonna make it happen. So that was kind of like the big push for me to really start turning the wheel to like, if you want something, you got to go fight for it. You got to do what you can for it. And along the way, there's been some great people, inspirational, that like, different walks of life, different paths, or just people who helped point me in the right direction, because I was just a random kid taking college courses. Actually, one of my first class was political science. I had no idea what was going on. That was a senior level class. And I was like, I need to leave because this is beyond my skills. And then, so I ended up becoming a relational communications major. And I was like, this is more my speed. I can talk. I can read body language. It's cool. So just by being able to like have those moments where I was like, this is too much. I need to change, but having that, reality check versus just like your parents tell you this is what you're going to do. Your parents sign you up for T-ball, you're going to play T-ball. You don't have a choice. But I don't like political science. I'm going to leave. So I just did that. So it was really cool. It was my first bout of independence.
You adopted a beagle when you were here? Did I hear that?
I did. Tatanka. What a hoot. He's something else. Because he's so cute and he's so simple in the best way. And also like, I don't know if you're slow, but we're going to check this out. But actually, we did a little research, and it turns out beagles are actually third from the bottom, at least from this page I looked at, on the intelligence. I was like, oh, okay. But then on the flip side, they're actually rated top 3, I think, in instinctual intelligence. So normal intelligence, not so much, like they're cute. Love to have them. There's nothing going on up here at all. Just very simple. But we love him. He's a very sweet boy. I think he's actually technically a bigodor because he's about 7 right now, and he's starting to fill up. And because when we first saw him, people thought he was like a little lab until he was sitting beside a lab puppy, and he was very lean. But now as he's gotten older, he's kind of getting a thick neck and the paws. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we see it. There's a lab. But he has the beagle howl. So I was like, okay, we got that for sure. But he's a sweet boy. He's a sweet boy. He's a little chonky right now, but he's happy.
Gotcha. Yeah, maybe beagles are like street smart, not book smart.
I hope so, yeah.
If your younger self could see you now, what would she think?
Oh, man. Little me was so stressed out all the time, just like trying to figure out how was it all going to work out? Like we were like very I think that's a general thing with women or just eldest daughters. Like you're trying to plan all the time. Anything is never perfect, but you're still trying to make it perfect. And so I was like, Steek, set out, like, just it's going to work out. Don't stress about it. I think for her to see this is like, it worked. It actually worked. And it's kind of like that thing where like, you're Olympian. I'm like, I actually, yeah, like you think it's just so delusional, so out of reach. You just like one day comes, and it's like it's still trying to settle a little bit for me, but it's just like, wow, we really got here. After everything we've been through, we finally made it. And I think that's what little me would be thinking is like, that was a rough ride. I'm like, yeah, it was, but we got here. But the grace, like you were stressed out and you did the best you could with what you knew at the time, but obviously now we know better. But you can sit down, take a break, take a nap. We did the work. So she'd be very excited.
Is there any athlete that you're super excited to see while you're there?
actually, when I was at the Team USA Media Summit in October, it was in New York. I met quite a few skiers and snowboarders. Unfortunately, they're in a different venue than we are. So at the closing ceremony, I might cross paths with them, but I'd like to reconnect with them because it's one of the things where like let's all try to qualify, and some of us did qualify, some of us didn't, but like, let's, like we made it, we're here. But there's a few curlers I've met that I was like, oh, they're really cool, to like cross paths with them and try to see, So obviously, if I can be in the same 100 meters with Michaela Schifrin or Lindsey Vonn or Chloe Kim, I'm gonna be ecstatic, But there's just so much talent. It's just like, because this is what these athletes have grown up doing these sports, and it's like, so they're really good. And like, I just showed up one day and like, I'm gonna throw myself down a mountain. But no, I'm just excited to see everybody, because everyone works so hard to get there, and just the paths everyone's taken. And honestly, I'm really excited to see the skeleton athletes that are first-time Olympians, because they had some challenging paths as well. So I think we're gonna take like I'm gonna call it like our yearbook photo, like the first years. We'll see if we can get them all together. But yeah.
Awesome. So if someone were watching this and is thinking, hey, how do I be like her? How can I become the next Mystique? What would you tell someone?
Oof. I would say, well, one thing is I'm trying to create a blueprint, like a physical, like, this is what to do, this is what not to do, like as an intro, but like, just be curious. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and shoot the DM, send the email, show up, to these venues, and just be in the atmosphere and see if there's something you want to be a part of. Because at the end of the day, like, if you told me I was going to be outside with -17, I wouldn't have showed up. I happened upon that. I was like, this is horrible. And that's what it was. So I found out the hard way. I'm actually allergic to ice. So, and I say that I chew on ice. I drink slushies. But if ice touches my skin, I'll break out in hives, and it'll kind of mimic. It's an allergic reaction, but like your heart rate starts to slow down. I don't know what that is, but it's not good. I know that. Second, I have Raynaud's, which is like Raynaud's disease, whatever. So basically, exposure to cold, and my fingers will start to swell up or turn white, and it's very painful. So I wear a lot of heated gear, thick gloves, leather gloves, whatever. And then the third thing is I'm claustrophobic, and I have to wear a helmet. And so that I found it the hard way, because I don't wear necklaces because of this. But one time I was wearing a necklace and I got caught in the chin strap, and I couldn't take my helmet off because you're breathing pretty heavy because there's a lot of pressure on your body, and it wasn't coming out. So I broke the necklace because I was like, I gotta get this off my head because I was hyperventilating. So be curious, be okay with being uncomfortable, because it's gonna happen, and be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. Like, there's certain things I just won't do. Like, if it's -20, I'm not going. I'm sorry. I will skip today's training. I'll come back next time. But it'd be reasonable, because like there's certain things I think when people come into early and say like, I want to be an Olympian in the sport, I'm like, you got to know if you like the sport first. You got to know if you want to be in this environment, because it's challenging. It's very difficult. There's a lot of talented athletes that come out and just like, this just isn't for me. And it's like, yeah, it's because you're gone for so long of the year. You miss birthdays, you miss holidays, you miss so much stuff. But you get to see the Swiss Alps, maybe you don't get to go home for Christmas, So there's just different things like that. Like, it's just be curious about that kind of stuff, and don't be afraid to ask questions, because at the end of the day, you have to make an educated call, if you want to do the sport or not, or whether it's skeleton or do something similar, just pursuing something that's so niche or different that you never did.
Hey, coming back on here with breaking news, the sentencing hearing for the man that was found guilty of that Raleigh mass shooting back in 2022, now sentenced to life in prison. As of this morning, we're getting reaction now from outside the courtroom.
Transcripts, appellate counsel will have to be assigned, all of those things. So, I mean, this will go on for several years, probably at the appellate level. But, we worked very hard. I think the judge worked very hard to protect the record in this case, to make sure that it would stand up under appeal.
Great. Anything else that you want to add? Great. So. Thank you, DA, for your time.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, looks like we just caught it at the back end there. But again, Austin Thompson pleaded guilty to this and was just sentenced this morning to life in prison after that 2022 shooting. Hopefully, we're going to get some more information soon from the courtroom. But for now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News, 10:25 on your Friday morning. We have something happening live. This is out of Florida, Polk County, so just a little bit south of Orlando. We're hearing from some local law enforcement as well as the Florida Attorney General. Let's take a listen.
I think it'll be interesting. I'm going to just flip through them very quickly. I'm not going to try to make the lineage and tie all of that together. We can give you that through the PIOs. But I'm just going to give you a snapshot. This is Eric McCaskill from Winter Park. He's 36. He was released from the Florida State Prison in 2020 for trafficking in meth. He was sentenced on a 3-year minimum mandatory. He drove to Polk County with 14 pounds of meth. When he was arrested, he said, "Well, I knew not to mess around in Polk County," but he did, and he's caught. He is a gang member. He's charged with RICO, with trafficking, and he's facing a 15-year mid-man. As State Attorney Haas said, what's important about these minimum mandatories? Because judges can't listen to family members and sob stories and alligator tears and go, "Well, heck, he's such a nice young man," and end up giving him 2 years. When what he is, he's a drug dealing person who's responsible for the deaths of folks. But he's got a criminal history. He's got 30 other felonies, 26 misdemeanors. He's been to Florida State Prison 2 times, once for trafficking and once for fleeing arrest. And then there's Spencer Leonard, 37, in Bartow. He was released from Florida State Prison in 2020 for trafficking in heroin on a 5-year minimum mandatory. Oh, he fled from us when we went to arrest him. Now he's charged with RICO and trafficking in fentanyl, over 28. That's a 25-year minimum mandatory. He also has a criminal history of 12 felony arrests and 12 misdemeanors. He has been to state prison on 2 other occasions. Now, you hear and you're going to hear this drumbeat. They've been to prison. They've been to prison. When they're not locked up, they're out peddling drugs and peddling violence. Stephen Jackson's 32. He's from Winter Haven. He's a gang member. He stole a kilo of fentanyl from an associate. That usually doesn't bode well for your life expectancy. We probably saved his life when we arrested him from being shot by another gangbanger. He traveled to California as a connection from the California to Polk County to bring the drugs. He has a criminal history of 23 felonies, 14 misdemeanors. He too has been to Florida State Prison on 2 different occasions. This is Umbuju Grant. He's 34. He's from Lakeland. He is second in command of this gang whose name we're not going to give. We have him charged currently with conspiracy to traffic in meth. He's had 17 felony arrests, robbery with a firearm on 2 different occasions, and 7 misdemeanors. If you don't think this guy won't point a gun in your face before quick, just encounter him on a dark alley one night. Michael Wells is 34. He's a gang member. He's a meth supplier. We have him charged with RICO, trafficking meth. It's a 15-year minimum mandatory. On one occasion, when we were monitoring his phone calls, he was talking to one of his associates, and he said, "Man, my phone connection's bad. I guess maybe they're tapping my phone." He might have been a prophet also, because he was right. We were listening to his phone call. He has a criminal history, and he's known to be violent. He has 11 felonies, 4 misdemeanors, and he did an armed burglary with a firearm. This is Tonyo Cortez Evans. He's 40. He's from Eagle Lake. He's a gang member. He fled from the deputies when we tried to take him down. Tried to run over a deputy, rammed another deputy. There were multiple shots fired on this particular occasion. He has a 15-year mid-man. He's also charged with attempted murder on law enforcement officers. He is a bad guy. He's got a criminal history. He doesn't want to go to jail. He's had previous drug arrests, resisting arrests, VOPs, fleeing. He has 35 felonies and 39 misdemeanor arrests. He's active committing crime. This is Joshua Pucklewarts. Yeah, common spelling. He's 33 from Tampa. He is a rapper. He's known as Tommy Boy Wayne. Well, if my last name was Pucklewarts, I'd probably go by Tommy Boy Wayne too. But he's really a popular rapper in Central Florida. He's also a meth supplier. He fled from the highway patrol. That didn't get him very far because they caught him. They crashed him into a bridge, or he crashed into a bridge. He had 11.8 pounds of meth. He's facing a 15-year mid-man, so he can rep his way all the way to state prison. This is Jamarian Young. He's 36. He's known as Shiesty. He's the highest ranking member of the gang in Florida. They call him the landlord. He's charged with RICO, trafficking in fentanyl, trafficking in meth. They're 25-year mid-mans. But he did tell the detectives when we arrested him, "Hey, you all did a really good job of catching me." He's already served 15 years in the Florida State Prison sentence for armed robbery with a firearm. And he's on his way back. There's Jarrell Carr. Jarrell Carr's 35. He's from Mulberry. And Bruce Young. Bruce is 37 from Lakeland. Pay attention to this. He's released from the Florida State Prison on November the 29th of last year. Got that? On the very same day, he started negotiating dope deals. The day he's out. We have him for conspiracy to traffic, racketeering, 15-year mid-man. Newsflash, he's a gang member. He has a criminal history with 11 felonies, kidnapping for ransom, traffic, 21 misdemeanors. And then there's Jarrell Carr. He's known as Solid. He's a gang member. He was released from Florida State Prison in June. He was serving 7 years for a trafficking in meth. I forgot to say he was serving 7 years for trafficking in meth. He fled from the Highway Patrol, didn't do any good. They caught him because the Highway Patrol catches people they pursue. He was charged with racketeering, trafficking in fentanyl, trafficking in meth. He's got a 25-year mid-man. Look, folks, I want to end with this. These folks just got out of serving 7 years in prison for trafficking in drugs, and they're back trafficking in drugs. This is your poster child or poster children. If you don't lock these people up, they are going to commit crimes. They're prolific criminals. That is their career. That is their business. They're gang members. And they work together. They say, one heart, one beat. But what you see here today is one heart, one beat to arrest all of them that are doing their best to kill folks like these people here. So with that, you have all the information that we have. God bless you. Have a good weekend.
You were just listening in to North Carolina Attorney General and local law enforcement there, Florida Attorney General and law enforcement there about an operation they are conducting. You also saw the busy slopes at Beach Mountain and, of course, a live look at the scene for the search for Nancy Guthrie. We are now on day 13 of that. More news coming up. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News. Of course, we are paying close attention to the elections, both North and South Carolina. Some big things on your ballot. We want to get to current South Carolina Governor McMaster endorsing his pick to replace him, Pamela Everett. Let's get to that announcement from yesterday.
Wow. Well, first up, I want to thank everybody for coming, friends, supporters, family, colleagues. It's an amazing day. It is my honor to introduce somebody that needs absolutely no introduction. He is the longest serving governor in South Carolina's history. He is the most popular governor in South Carolina's history. Yes. He is our 117th governor, and my dear friend, and somebody I'm proud to call my mentor, Governor Henry McMaster.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and y'all might have noticed I brought my favorite wife, Peggy Jean McMaster, is here as well. Big smile, girl. There you go. That's good. Well, y'all, I'm delighted to be here. I'm going to be very brief. I just have a few things to say. We made a good video the other day. You may have seen it. But we've got a great team, and everybody here is a part of that team. You can't get anything done without a team. You notice in football games and in other athletic things, they have a team, and everybody knows what they're doing, knows the direction they're going in, and they're all working together, pulling in the same direction, rowing in the same direction. You can think of all the analogies. Well, that's what Pam and I have been doing. Pamela, be very official, Pamela. You know, Jimmy Carter got into a scrape whether he could put Jimmy Carter on there or James Earl Carter. Y'all remember that? There were laws, had a lawsuit over it. Well, this is Pam or Pamela, and she just called her your next governor. It'd be a lot easier. Right? But we've done a lot of things, and years ago when I realized now I was the first one to pick the lieutenant governor, pick my running mate, and I wanted somebody who had a business background, who knew some people, who was a Trump supporter, of course, and was willing to get to work and do the things necessary to make this state even greater. My goal has been and still is and always will be to make this the best place in the whole world to live, work, and raise a family. This is a great state, and you've heard me preach that, of the history, no other place like this on this earth. And people all over the world are finding that out, and that's why we are booming. That's why businesses all over the world want to come here. Why? They want to be in this environment. You can look out the window. There's nothing like the natural environment that we have. We have to protect it. But it's always the people. They say the people of this state are different from anywhere else. We're called a handshake state. I've heard executives say over and over, they say, I'd rather have your hand in mine and your word than a signed contract. Now that means something, and they don't say that everywhere. So we've got a good thing going. We are succeeding. We are winning left and right. We've had the largest tax cut in our history. We've got law enforcement officers now in every school, just a few, can't find one yet, but we've given them the money. That's 1,283 schools. Safe because they have those law officers in there. We've raised, thank you. We've raised teacher pay. Our goal at the beginning was to go up to at least $50,000 a year for minimum pay for a brand new starting teacher. And with our leaders in the legislature, we go get that done. We got one more step to go. We're going to go $50,500 this legislative session. We've helped our military, our veterans. This is a military-friendly state. We are doing the kinds of things that need to be done. We're protecting life, born and unborn. We're preserving land. We're preserving the family farm. We're cutting taxes, largest tax cut in our history. All of these things. But you can't do it without a team. And what Pamela and I have done, with a lot of help from leaders in this room right now and others not here, we've set the course for the future of this state. We know that we must have the strongest economy, we must have strong education, and we must protect that cultural and natural environment, all of our heritage. If we do those things, we'll have done our job. What will South Carolina look like in 100 years? That's the question you have to ask every time we do anything, every time we pass a law or don't pass a law. And with a leader like Pam, She has learned about government. She has been my eyes and ears. She has given me advice. She has carried our message. She has taught the talk. She's walked the walk, talked the talk. She's done the things necessary. I trust her. I believe in her. And I like her family too. David's okay. Now Pam doesn't like to race stock cars, but David does. So we got it all covered. But ladies and gentlemen, it is a thrill for me and for Peggy to be here to urge you. We want to endorse Pam for our next governor. Urge you to get behind her. Be sure we have to keep winning. South Carolina has been winning. We need to keep winning with Pamela Everett as our next governor. Thank you.
Wow. It's hard not to get teary-eyed with that kind of endorsement. And, it seems just like yesterday that the governor and I were standing in a podium in Greenville, and he was announcing me as his lieutenant governor. And it has been an amazing, just been an amazing 8 years. I look back, we have been the conservative powerhouse of the nation, taking what is just smart ideas, common sense ideas, as the governor outlined. Largest tax cuts in our state's history. Increasing pay for our law enforcement, which we all know is why so many people are moving to South Carolina. Making sure that we raised teacher pay and kept our people safe. And if you like what you saw in this first chapter, you're going to love what you see in the next chapter. I want to keep rolling strong on all the things we've done, all the things that make South Carolina wonderful. Making sure we protect our coastline, protect our wooded areas, make sure that we eliminate state income tax and we get rid of burdensome regulations. We want to continue to protect life and protect parent rights. And so I just want to thank you all so much for being here today. It is amazing to think how you can actually take solid business principles. When the governor asked me to run as his lieutenant governor, I think the first thing I asked him is, why me? I'm not a career politician. I've never been in politics. I wasn't even my high school class president. And it was endearing when he said, I want a business person. I want somebody who has signed the front of paychecks. I want somebody who has been able to move the economy and work with businesses. And those were all the things I said when I supported President Trump. I wasn't in the political world. I was sitting at my desk going, we need more business people. Because I'll tell you, as business people, we sit around all the time and we say, why can't government run more like a business? But never once have I heard in my life business people sit around and say, wow, I wish our businesses ran more like government. And that was exactly the role Governor McMaster charted for me. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you all so much for your support. June 9th is coming quick, and I plan on winning this on June 9th. So I need all of you there with me. Thank you all so much, and Governor, thank you so much. Thank you for being my mentor. Thank you for being my friend, and thank you for having the confidence in me to work alongside of you for 8 years. I won't let you down. I'll continue to make you proud. Thank you all.
All right, just past 10:45 here in the Live Impact studio. You were just listening to yesterday Governor McMaster endorsing Pamela Everett for the next governor to succeed him. So we are going to take another quick break, but stick with us. Lots more coming up in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News. A couple minutes left here in the studio, and we do want to get to a health alert for you. Of course, measles is spreading, not just in South Carolina, but now in North Carolina as well. So we got a chance to speak with the Mecklenburg County Communicable Diseases expert about what you need to know as measles continues to spread.
Here at 4 o'clock, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal, and right now we need to talk about measles because health officials in Mecklenburg County responding to concerns following a recent measles outbreak in our state. And this highly contagious disease has been making a resurgence in the last several months. This afternoon, we are joined by Joy Smith, the county's communicable disease doctor, to talk about everything you need to know. Joy, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Important conversation we need to have today.
Thank you for having me.
Want to give us an overview of where Mecklenburg and the state stand now when it comes to the current measles situation?
Sure. And so I'll share. I am a nurse and Mecklenburg County's Communicable Disease Director. And as such, Mecklenburg County has reported 3 cases of measles. We're working and are in regular communication with the state and with other local health departments to make sure that we are putting the guidance into place and implementing it the same way, and sharing best practices across counties. And the state health department is there to support our efforts, so we appreciate that.
Absolutely. Are these cases concentrated geographically, and how does this compare then to previous years?
So, so far at this number, we haven't really been able to we pinpoint them to a particular area. I will share Mecklenburg County, I believe it's in 2024, did have 1 case of measles. And we have not seen measles until recently. And we have been looking at that and then thinking that it is, and we can attribute it to lower vaccination rates. We look at those a couple of different ways. We have looked at the kindergarten vaccination rates, and we're at about 92%. When you're in between 92 and 95%, it is possible that you can see cases, especially in pocketed areas where the numbers are below those numbers. So.
Okay, and so we don't know the source of this outbreak or if they're connected in any way?
As far as our 3 cases?
Yeah.
No, we're not able to pinpoint them to a single source.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about prevention. You mentioned vaccination, and so that is still the most effective way to protect against measles?
Correct. Thank you for bringing that up. We do encourage people to be vaccinated. We understand there's some conversation surrounding vaccination, and we can appreciate that people have questions, so we encourage them to connect with their doctors or connect with our immunization clinic. We'd be very much happy to answer those questions, and then they can get those vaccines with their private providers. There are some drugstores that offer vaccine, and then they certainly can get those at the Mecklenburg County Public Health Department.
Yeah, we talk about parents being concerned about having their children vaccinated. When is the appropriate age that children should receive their doses if that's what their families want to do?
Yes, so the normal schedule, according to the Advisory Council, is at 12 months and then at 4 to 6 years old. There are some situations where we are advising people to receive that early, and that's if they are traveling to an area internationally or domestically where there is an outbreak.
And what do you say to those who may be hesitant about vaccines? What would you say to them about the safety and importance of this vaccine?
I would say that the research supports that this vaccine is effective and it's safe. And again, be open to having conversations with either public health or your providers about vaccine in your specific situations.
So who is most at risk then when it comes to the measles? Is it a certain age, a certain population?
Yes, so the research is showing that there are a couple of areas where people can be high risk, and we want to take particular attention and care, and that's individuals under the age of 5 and over the age of 20. And then also we like to try to protect pregnant people and those who are immunocompromised, and that's why we encourage vaccination.
Okay, very good. And so let's talk about symptoms now, and when you feel like it's other than, maybe a rash or cold?
Right. So as far as symptoms, fever, of course, and then rash. The measles rash in most cases is pretty characteristic. It starts at your upper body, around your face, and then moves down towards your feet. And then also you could have what we call the 3 C's, and that's cough, red watery eyes, and runny nose.
Okay. And again, so when they've been potentially exposed to something like this, when should they see their doctor?
They should see their doctor as soon as possible. However, please, if you think you have symptoms of measles, please contact your provider's office via phone first. We want to make sure that everyone is able to be kept safe. And because this virus is so highly contagious, walking into those settings with those symptoms and then subsequently testing positive for measles could possibly expose a lot of people and result in more cases.
Okay. We have one of our reporters, Joy, talking about this story today. He asked if she, how many conversations have you had with South Carolina health officials about the outbreak?
So we have been able to connect with them some and just discuss kind of the strategies that they have in place, and they've talked over what they're seeing with us. So we have had a couple of opportunities to connect.
Okay. I mean, so today we've seen the notices on certain places in the Charlotte area, a couple of Goodwills. I think there was a Chipotle mentioned. What do these notices mean, and what should people do if they feel like they were at a certain place that had been on this alert list?
Yeah, so we share those public notices in the situations where it's kind of almost impossible to get a complete list of all contacts in those situations. So we try to reach people as broadly and widely as possible. And that's the point of that, to let people know if you were in those areas and you start to develop symptoms, please call your provider or public health before presenting for care.
All right. Is there any other treatments, or once you do find that you are diagnosed with this, is there a supportive care?
Exactly. Treatment for measles is really just supportive. Other options people would have to discuss with their provider.
Okay. And then do they last, the symptoms last for, I should ask, how long is the duration of a measles outbreak?
As far as an outbreak, that's just going to depend on the number of unvaccinated people in exposure settings and how closely people have been to spread the disease. What we found with our symptoms, people are not having long periods of illness in our areas, but we have seen in some other areas where people have had outcomes that were not so favorable. Encephalitis is also a possible outcome of measles, so that's why we want to make sure that we prevent cases as much as possible.
All right, and then once you do find that you are diagnosed with measles, people are quarantining, how long should they isolate themselves from others?
Right. So when we find out people have measles, they need to stay in isolation for a 4-day period from the time they develop rash and isolate.
All right, we are going to have to go to our next newscast, but I do want to let you know what we have on the docket for 12:30 going on our afternoon Live Impact News session. We're going to hear from someone at Milan, so we're going to hear about the Olympics. We're also going to hear live from a council member about their legislative agenda and a lot of really other interesting live interviews with some of our reporters on news of the day. So you're going to want to stick with us. Be back here at 12:30 in the Live Impact studio. Thanks for watching.